Welcome back to American Warrior Radio, right here on the Talk to Me station, AM 1300 WMEL, and online worldwide at 1300WMEL.com. And let me take just a moment, folks. If you know somebody that's out of area and isn't familiar with AM 1300 WMEL or American Warrior Radio, get them familiar right now. Send them a text, send them an email, send them a phone call, and tell them to dial us up. I don't care where they are on the planet. We are reaching out to everyone, whether you're military, know a military member, or you're just a concerned, patriotic American and you want to help the troops. This is the place to be. Tell them to dial us up on 1300WMEL.com. Click the listen button. And I also want to share every episode on American Warrior Radio, again, thanks to the generosity of John Harper and WMEL, is archived by title. Okay, thanks to John O'Hara, our chief engineer, for doing that. Because you can grab that file and share with anybody the information that we're bringing out to you. Okay, so listen up and jot that down, 1300WMEL.com, and share it widely, far and wide. Guess what? We've got more guest interviews with you. We're always interested, again, in reaching out to the community and finding out movers and shakers and things that are going on. And in studio with us right now, we have two wonderful people. We have Julie Buskirk, Women First, Ladies First, and Will McCausland. Hi, guys.
Hi, how you doing?
How you doing? Great to see you.
Thank you for sharing a few minutes with us here on this awesome Saturday. Tell us a little bit about yourselves. Julie, we'll start with you.
Okay. I was in the Marines from 2008
Where were you born and raised first? Let's go back to
born
there.
and raised.
Sure.
Going back a little bit farther. So, born and raised in Palm Bay, Florida.
So you're a native Floridian.
I am.
You're the one.
Yes, that's me.
Okay, so Palm Bay, what happened? You graduate high school?
Yeah, graduated high school, did a little work. I was a waitress for a while, and then I was trying to do school full time, and it wasn't happening for me. I felt like I wasn't in the place that I was supposed to be, and so I went on to bigger, better things. Wanted to challenge myself and join the Marines.
A lady joining the Marines. Okay, now there are more and more women represented in all branches of service, but I'm thinking the Marines you got to be able to hold your own.
Yeah. There's you get a lot of backlash sometimes from the male Marines.
Where'd you do boot camp?
Parris Island, the only place.
Okay.
South Carolina.
Okay. And what was your MOS while you were in the Marines?
I was a motor team mechanic. Worked on all the diesel trucks, the mine-resistant ambush vehicles. Those were my specialty, the MRAPs.
The MRAPs. We've talked about those before. That was a vast improvement over some of the vehicles.
Fantastic.
Okay, so there's a little bio. We'll get to maybe some more here. Will, tell us about yourself.
William McCausland. I was born in Raton, New Mexico. Lived there for the majority of my life, and then spent a quick stint on the Navajo Indian Reservation in Arizona, and graduated out of high school from Page, Arizona, joined the military right out of high school, and spent the next 26 years.
So do you have any Native American blood in you?
I can't claim any. I've been told that for family history, but no.
Okay. So you graduate high school, then what?
Graduated high school, joined the United States Army, and served 26 years as a combat engineer sapper, and enjoyed a long career and retired in 2012.
Awesome. Again, thank you both for your service. Will, what is a combat engineer?
A combat engineer or a sapper is a person who basically goes out on the offense. He makes sure that any obstacles or anything the enemy puts in the way, you blow a hole through so the tanks.
Oh, I like that. Let's blow some stuff up.
Oh yeah. And when you're on the defense, you try to set up the obstacles that fixes the enemy in place and rain all your hard steel in on them and take them out as quickly as you can.
Well, 26 years. So you both have been in theater in where? Afghanistan, Iraq?
Yes.
Both. Afghanistan
Both,
twice.
both.
Yeah, Afghanistan twice and Iraq once for me.
Well, my Iraq was at the end of the Kuwait War when we weren't supposed to go across, but we did a little bit.
Yeah. But and Julie, multiple tours. I have to talk to that because that's an issue that we bring up here on American Warrior Radio a lot. We are asking so much of our troops nowadays, especially with the obvious downsizing of our active duty troop levels. You did 3 tours.
Yes.
Pretty commonplace?
Sort of. Most do 2, but my first 2, Iraq and Afghanistan, were actually back to back. I went straight from Iraq to Afghanistan in 2009. The big push right before the Marja offensive. I was there for that. So.
How about you, Will?
4, 1991, and then 3 Afghanistan.
Holy cow, guys. Thank you for your service. I mean, folks, are you listening to this? Glenn and I bring you this information a lot. We talk about how multiple tours not only affect the service member themselves, but their families. Give us a sense, and we're going a little off key, but this is really important that the guys and gals out there that don't have any military experience or really know what's going on with our troops, give them a sense of what that did to you when you knew that you had to go right back into the mix, into the sandbox. Julie, you start.
It was, for me, I was single. I am single, so I had my family back home, so it wasn't too much for me to just pack up my stuff and go. So it wasn't too bad.
What about your fellow troops, though? Were you...
I did see a lot of families and guys that had children, and they would and wives, and they would tear marriages apart.
Yeah, I mean, you're hearing it firsthand, folks. Will, can you add to that?
I'm trying to think of how to condense
All
everything
your...
down into like about a 2-second. You know, I'm on my second divorce right now, and it's all military related. And I don't want to just pin it on the military, though, because as a person who is trying to help people resolve conflict, I got to researching why this happened. I said, how can someone who is making a living helping people learn how to work better together be going through this a second time? And it's not just military vets. It's a problem throughout society, period. We live in a society where we have 40-50% first-time divorce rates. And I find it kind of ironic that we're spending gazillions of dollars fighting same-sex marriage. And I'm not going to argue the pros or cons of that, but we're spending all this money on it, fighting it, and yet there's not a word being said about the fact that traditional marriage is just falling apart, and we're not talking about the social implications, the economic implications. Taxpayers, you're paying for my divorces, and you're paying for everyone else's divorces. You just don't know it yet because the costs are hidden in higher rates of incarceration, social welfare programs that have to help out the people who are impacted by this. I could go on and on that. It's kind of become a focus point for me, and especially with veterans, because when you go to court as a vet, and if you happen to suffer from PTSD or something like that, or even if you don't suffer from PTSD, just the fact that you're a veteran and you've been to combat, you're automatically behind the 8 ball when you go to court.
Did y'all hear that? That is an important point to make. We've talked about the importance of Veterans Court regarding when our service members get in a little trouble after they get out of service, but you're saying just going into a family court situation, they see the judge or the prosecutor, well, the respondent's attorney or whatever, the attorneys in general, you're behind the 8 ball because of your combat service.
Yeah.
So it's got a stigma.
You know, it's an ironic double-edged sword. On one side, one day everybody's praising me, wanting to buy me dinners, buy me beers, do all these things for me. But then all of a sudden, that thing that everyone wants to praise me for and say thank you for, they want to use against me then later on when I really need help. And one of the catch-22s the double-edged sword that we run into is we're being pressed as military members to talk about what's bothering us and not keep it in. You need to go get help. You need to go get help. You don't suffer with this alone. So you do what everyone wants you to do, and you go get help. But then, when you go to court, the fact that it's documented. For example, there's a man that I know that just went to court, and the judge literally said this in the courtroom. Said he understood that the wife was pushing that person's buttons, was the instigator, but the fact that she was instigating and surprising him with instances of emotional harm was a reason to maintain the restraining order on him. Even though he wasn't the one instigating it, the restraining order would be on him. He bears the burden of the restraining order, even though the person who put it on is the one instigating it all. For the error on safety's sake. Even though they may believe the other person is just full of baloney, because of all the media and everything you see on TV about veterans going off the wall and doing things. Right now, with the environment the way it is, if you're a veteran, you have PTSD, and someone files on you, it doesn't matter whether it's true or not, to err on the side of safety, they're going to maintain that restraining order or whatever it is on you. And So then you got veterans saying, they go, well, why do I want to go get help now? Because if I go get help,
That's the key right
I'm going
there.
to be punished for getting help. No matter what I do, you want me to go get help, you don't want me to explode, and you tell me, you're going to be there for me, and we go do it, and then when you go to court or something, it's the exact same thing that gets used against you, and you don't get to see your children.
It just snowballs, and I'm glad you brought that up, because Glenn and I have talked about that, and we have guests talked about that specifically. Go ahead.
And that's one of the things. Julie and I are here to represent the American Legion Panther Post 406, and we just got instituted. I can't remember the date, but it's not even been 6 months. April. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we really want to do, because the younger generation is coming out of this and going through a lot of this, is they're trying to transition out of that, transition into school, and they're dealing with all these issues, and some of them are married, going through divorce. And what we really want to do with American Legion is to be there as a conduit to help provide them some information to help them walk through some of these things. There's some things that...
Well, let's talk about that, because you guys are responsible, and I applaud you. I'm serious. That's coming from me, from my heart, that you started an American Legion post on the campus of FIT, Florida Institute of Technology. Okay, now you're the president, Will.
The commander.
Commander.
But we have to give credit where credit is due, and there are some very key people in FIT. Dr. Taylor, Dr. Elmore, and Dr. Jones, who really put a lot of effort in this, and Curtis Arnett, who was the initial person to go through all the work, put it together. And then I basically walked in the meeting, and they pointed at me and said, "You're the commander."
Okay, now Julie, your position at Post 406?
The first vice commander.
First Vice Commander, and the name of it again is the Panther Post, as in FIT Panthers?
Right, American Legion Panther Post 406.
Okay, so tell me about the genesis of this. You mentioned that there were some PhDs, some doctors there that wanted to help you put this together. What about you guys? How did you get involved? You said you walked in the room.
Well, when you spend 26 years of a life of service, and I know veterans out there are going to understand this, but you go, especially if you spend a long period of time you go from spending your whole life in this, what everyone is telling you is this extremely important job, this special status in society, and then you retire, and the next day you're nothing.
You're Zippo.
You're nothing. And so you're trying to reconcile, that huge life swing. And it's hard. And you go from being responsible for so much, and it's a hard transition, and most veterans take a year to 2 years to transition from that. And that's if they're lucky and they're not suffering from anything like PTSD, they got a job waiting on them.
Disability or any type of family issues?
If you're just a normal member leaving, it's hard, it takes that long. It's a complete change in mindset.
Julie, what's your story there? You got out of service when? What was your ETS?
2012.
2012, and you went right into school using your post 9/11 GI Bill?
Yes, I did. If it wasn't for that, I would not be in school.
Okay, so it is an awesome program. We want to, and again, we're not here, as Richard said in the earlier segment, we're not here to bash the VA, but aside from all that, you use the program the way it was intended. Mm-hmm. It's helping you go to school. What's your major?
Forensic psychology. I'm a senior at FIT.
Excellent. So you're getting ready to graduate.
That is correct.
Awesome. You're going
Next
into your
May, yeah.
Excellent. You're going into your senior year. Mm-hmm. Tell me about your quest to get involved with Post 406. How'd that generate? How'd that come about?
So when it initially started, it actually started from the American Legion magazine came out, and they had a special issue on a post that had just started, an American Legion of younger group.
North Dakota? Where was it?
May have been North Dakota. I want to say it was somewhere out in the middle of nowhere.
Okay, but that piqued your interest.
Yeah, it was on the front page, and there was one of the doctors that Will introduced. Actually slid that across the table over to one of the other students. We had originally had a veterans club, and it was just for veterans to come together, hang out, and just kind of tell each other about stories and how to get through the complications with the VA and
like a peer
GI
group.
Bill. Yeah, absolutely. Just volunteer to or veteran to veteran, just helping each other out. And then from that group, it spawned with that that initial magazine that doctor slid it across the table and was like, you should start that. And from there, it just kind of went on, rolled.
Well, you know, I realized I didn't quite answer your question. Is we kind of got sidetracked. That the way I got involved in it, you live a life of service, and you get out, you want that feeling again. You
Plug
lose that
back
feeling.
in.
You want to plug back in. So when you get the opportunity to help serve and get back connected with that brotherhood, it helps the transitional portion. So for me, I got involved because I felt like I was by myself, and it was hard. So getting back around veterans and getting plugged back into the well, it's a brother and sisterhood, and being around people who understood, you know, it made it a lot easier. And if I could use an analogy for you, I was in the room when my son was born, and it was just my wife and I, and we were in an alternative birthing place, so it wasn't in a hospital. He was going to do it in a pool of water, and I was there from the second. Matter of fact, a doctor arrived, barely snapped the glove on the wrist, and put her hands in the water, and so my wife and I birthed that child.
Awesome.
Right? So I went through that whole experience, but I will never know what it's like to give birth. And I will never understand it, ever. No matter how much someone tries to explain to me, in fact, I will never understand it. So, unless you're a veteran and have gone through those things, you can empathize, but you really don't understand unless you've gone through it. I mean, there's just a piece you're not going to quite grasp. So when you get around the people that have done that, and you can talk about things, and you can automatically see they get it. You know, it helps. It helps with transition. That's what our goal is at FIT, is to help provide that group that the veterans there can come talk to. They can bounce some things off of, ask their problems, get some information to help them in not just in school, but with anything. We want to grow this thing out, so we're helping people that deal with the PTSD get to the best doctors, the best programs, the best techniques to handle it. If they have any problems that are coming up because of it, we give them the best counsel.
Excellent.
You know, we just want to be there, and I mean, we're saying veterans too, but it's their family. We have the Riders program, and we have the sons of and daughters of the American Legion, so we help out the sons and daughters and all the family connectors to it. And we also want to help the community too. I mean,
For sure.
we're all about service. You don't live a life of service and then stop wanting to serve.
Awesome. Folks, we're talking with commander of the new American Legion post on FIT campus, the Panther Post 406, Will McCausland, Vice Commander Julie Buskirk. Julie, I think Will put it best. This new venture, and you're going to expand, you're going to have the Sons and Daughters of American Legion and an auxiliary and all this jazz. Is there excitement on campus? And before you even answer that, though, I want to know what potential challenges there were for an upstart group, for a new American Legion post, because we have listeners from New Hampshire to New Mexico. So give me some of the mechanics of how it came together and whether it was a pretty easy or whether it was complicated.
I'll start, and then I'll let Julie throw in her 2 cents. The person who really started it, Curtis, I wish he was here.
Where's Curtis?
Curtis is a very busy man. He's a disabled veteran himself, and he has a lot on his plate, but he did a lot of work, and there's a lot of paperwork involved in it. And then, but even then, when we came in and we first did the first meeting and everything, there's one thing that's different for us. Because we're starting on a college campus, we have to also follow the institution's requirements along with the American Legion requirements, and sometimes they don't quite
Jive.
and you
Yeah.
got to ask for some exceptions. You got to do some talking to people, and you got to work through that. That's one challenge. But with any organization, I think, not just American Legion, but with anyone, funds. You know, you got to have money to do stuff, and so that's where we need to have people call us up and donate so we can start going and helping out veterans. There's some programs that we would like to get veterans in and help veterans get to. For example, Cornerstone, who helps veterans, kind of similar to you do, get life skills, resume writing, things like that. We'd like to get people to AVET to, you know, participate in your programs, but we can't reach them and get to them without the funds to advertise and go find them, and we want to help vets that are low on money and pay some bills.
Sure. So tell me something. How can somebody, whether they're on the FIT campus or in the local neighborhood, join your post?
So with membership, unfortunately, this is one of the restrictions that we have from the American Legion, is that we have to have members that are affiliated in some way with FIT. So you have to be a faculty member, a staff member, or a student, And
What about a spouse of a student if they want to join the auxiliary?
we're
Yes.
working on that.
Commander is going to say yes right now.
Okay, you heard it here
I'll beg
first.
for forgiveness later.
So that's one of those things, those limitations that we're running into and problems is just with membership, and that we're trying to wiggle our way into getting more, and because we want to help more.
If you're alumni, if you went to school to FIT, if you've worked at FIT, if you have any connection with FIT whatsoever, a vendor at FIT, we'll take you.
You're eligible.
We want you. Come on.
Awesome. Tell me about your website real quick. Give me some information on how they can contact you.
We're building a website right now. The
How
way
can they get a hold of you?
they can go on FIT and look up the group on FIT's site, or heck, I'm just going to give you my number anyways. For my consulting business, it's 573-855-2585. You can call me.
Say it one more time. Say it one more time.
It's 573-855-2585.
Okay, and you have a consulting business, and I want to talk about that, but you mentioned that you're reaching out and you want the community to get involved. There's a couple events coming up that hopefully American Legion Post 406 is going to be taking up some table space at the AVET Project booth. We got the Free Simple Wills and Advanced Directives, which is on August 16th. Hopefully you guys can have a table there and meet and greet some of the troops, as well as the surfing event on August 9th. You know, American Legion Post 406, excellent opportunity right there on the beach. Hopefully you guys or some of your crew will be out there.
That sounds
Put it to
like
the vote.
something. Yeah, it definitely sounds like something that they would be interested in.
Put it to a vote. Well, listen, I want to thank you so much, first of all, both of you, Julie and Will, for your service to our country. Many, many thanks there. And especially a lady Marine, I'm afraid of you. I know those
should be.
Marines. Yeah, exactly. But honestly, it's wonderful to have you. Thank you so much. Much success with American Legion Post 406. We'll catch up more in the future. But man, time just flies by on American Warrior Radio. Before we leave, folks, you know we always get this word out. If you are a veteran in crisis, or you know a veteran in crisis, or even a family member, I want you to write this number down: 1-800-273-8255. Veterans, press 1. 800-273-8255. Folks, that's all for this week on American Warrior Radio. Don't miss us next week. And as Glenn always says, don't forget, thank a vet.